Welcome in to another video with ASpyroll. Today, with the NFL draft being just a few weeks away, and I've done quite a few mock drafts, I wanted to go through players at each position that I personally think are my favorite. Doesn't mean I think they're going to get drafted high or even drafted at all. Some of these guys are just players that I think if they make a team roster, they could, help out the team, whether that be on special teams, down the line, taking over for other players, just along those lines. Wanted to go through my, draft darlings or whatever. I've mentioned a few players that are on this list at certain positions, and you may know who they are if you've been watching. So I appreciate you if you've been watching. I appreciate you for tuning in. Now let's get right into it. We're going to start right here with the quarterbacks. My favorite quarterback in this draft, I wouldn't even be surprised if he doesn't get drafted at all. But Haynes King out of Georgia Tech. This dude is a redshirt senior. He has played his heart out in every game that I have ever watched him play. The one game that comes back and to my mind every single time I see him see him on the field is the Georgia Tech game where they went into like 8 overtimes, 7 overtimes, 6 overtimes, whatever it ended up being. And it was just blow for blow, back and forth. And Haynes King was honestly destroying Georgia low key. So it Haynes King got that dog in him, and he reminds me of what Taysom Hill is in the NFL. Haynes King can be that for another team. So Sean Payton down the board for Denver, don't be surprised if this is his next Taysom Hill. At wide receiver, my favorite wide receiver in this draft is Chris Brazzell II. Now, a lot of people hate on Tennessee wide receivers because of the offense that they run and the type of players that they are. They're all tall, lanky, fast guys, and they don't end up having good route trees. They don't end up having good this, that, or the next, right? Well, the thing about Chris Brazzell is for being a 6'5", 200-pound wide receiver, he is surprisingly elegant on his feet and agile for being as big as he is. And I think that a team that can take him and figure out how to utilize his 6'5" frame at 200 pounds and being extremely fast is going to get a steal. And I really think that him going probably in late round 2 or 3 is going to benefit whatever team ends up taking him. I think a good fit is a team like the 49ers, who don't really need, like, their offense is so based on one cut and run once you get the ball. And I think Chris Brazzell would fit like right into that system. Next up, halfbacks. My favorite halfback from this draft class. He's down here a little bit. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Where is he? There he is. Adam Randall. 6'2", 235, wide receiver, convert to running back. I think either this past season or the season before. So he doesn't have a lot of rushes under his belt, which is good in the sense of he doesn't have a lot of tread off of his tires. So if a team can get him into their system and get him running routes out of the backfield at his size, his speed, getting him, pass blocking for whatever quarterback, I think he could be a legitimate change of pace back that could kind of out of nowhere just step into a role and play some high positional value to these teams that may like use him. It seems like people are way down on him. I thought his combine wasn't exceptional, which is probably why he's down to 326 on PFF, but PFF does more of game stuff. And Clemson was horrible this year. I I say horrible, that they weren't good. I think that he will end up being a good fit on a team that takes a shot on him, super late, kind of like how the Bears did with Kyle Monangai. They took a shot on him. He ended up being an exceptional running back in a good system for Ben Johnson. Fullbacks. No, I'm just kidding. Eli Heidenreich is a pretty cool player. Played a lot of, obviously playing out of Navy, they were triple option, but he played a lot of the wing position in Navy's offense, which is basically like a slot wide receiver with rushing upside. He kind of reminds me of how the 49ers used Debo Samuel. Now, I don't know if that would be a good fit, but I do think that he will have some value on an NFL team. Tight ends. My favorite tight end is the number one tight end overall, Kenyon Sadiq. He, being 6'3", 245, and how athletic he is, it literally looks like a running back playing wide receiver with exceptional hands. His blocking can improve, but if you figure out an offense that can use him and utilize him off the line of scrimmage and get him basically as another wide receiver out there with his frame 6'3", 245 with safeties and linebackers on him, he's going to be so fun to watch, and I'm really excited to see where he ends up going. At center, so my favorite center in this draft class is Pat Coogan, redshirt senior, so obviously he's older, but 6'5", 311 pounds on an offensive line that just won the national championship, that protected Fernando Mendoza, especially up the middle, up in Fernando's face. Pat Coogan was an exceptional um, anchor to this offensive line. Their offensive line as a whole isn't being highly touted for draft prospects, but they all seem so intelligent when it comes to understanding schemes that I think they all are going to have a place in the NFL wherever team they go to. But Pat Coogan is my favorite center in this draft class. As for my favorite guard in this draft class, my favorite guard is Emmanuel Pregnon. I actually thought he was going to shoot up boards as the draft process has gone on. He's simply gone down, which is a surprise to me. And I think it has to do with his age. I believe he's turning 25 or 24 going into the season. And so being an older prospect who just in the last year and a half to two season or season and a half to 2 seasons has been finally showing up in his older age may not be a great look, but I think you are getting a slam dunk first day starter if you draft Emmanuel Pregnon. And there are plenty of teams that need interior offensive line. If you look around the NFL, center and guard are two of the most sought after positions this offseason in free agency. And I think that Emmanuel Pregnon may end up going higher than people think, but I think he is a first round talent. As for tackles, As for tackles, Max Iannacor is so fun to watch. He is so freakishly athletic and has such good footwork. Once he figures out how to add some strength behind his strikes, he is going to be so good. He reminds me, we said this in our mock draft, but he reminds me of like that Penei Sewell, Tristan Wirfs type of player where he's just a massive human with insane athletic ability and is going to, as long as he gets in the right system with a good coach, like a good offensive line coach that can continue to develop him, I think he is going to be an exceptional offensive line for years to come. And I I hope that a team like the Bears potentially take a shot on him to fill that left tackle role if they don't end up signing someone to step in that's better than Jedrick Wills and Braxton Jones. Moving on to the defensive side of the ball, we're going to start with cornerbacks. My favorite cornerback in this draft class is Keontae Scott. He's 6', 194, which is a pretty good size for a corner. And the reason I say pretty good size is you always want corners 6', 6'1", and above, but you don't want them to be too tall because then their legs can start to get stiff in the sense of it's a lot longer of a motion to change directions, to break on balls. I think a 6 foot corner is a good spot, but he is 24 and a half years old probably going to be close to 25 by the time the season ends. So he's an older prospect, but I just remember watching multiple games this season where he was locking down whoever was out to his side. They were putting him in press man coverage and he was shutting them down sticky like glue. Just had a swagger about him that was so fun to watch. And Keontae Scott for me is my favorite corner in this draft class, with a close second being D'Angelo Pons. Just they're 1 and 2. I think Pons has been talked about enough. I don't think Keontae Scott is talked about enough. I think he's fantastic. Moving on to safeties. I actually am not a huge fan of this safety class. So I probably would say my favorite safety is Dylan Thieneman. Again, people remember wild plays, and that wild play for me is Oregon against Penn State, picking the ball off to end the game. He flies around. I think Dylan Thieneman is a surefire first round pick, easily one of the top defensive players on the board. Whatever team ends up needing safety is going to be right, you know, feeling real good when Thieneman falls to him. And he's only 21 right now. So drafting a guy who's only 21 years old is fantastic for front offices. On to linebackers. My favorite linebacker in this class is Jacob Rodriguez. I thought he should have been in the Heisman finalists. They somehow, with stats that were better than Manti Te'o's, only put him at fifth. I don't understand that. Jacob Rodriguez is so good. He tested exceptionally well for them saying he was a small, slow linebacker with good knowledge, good IQ. And for now him to show the IQ that he has with the added speed and athletic ability. And one other thing about Jacob Rodriguez is, look at that mustache, man. I mean, come on. Look at that caterpillar. That boy knows how to grow a mustache. His wife's a beast. She's like an Apache helicopter pilot or something. I think he's going to go and be exceptional for a ton of years in the NFL. And again, I don't think these guys are going to get drafted super highly, if at all. Like, there's guys like Haynes King. Like I said, he might not even get drafted. He might be a free agent signing. But I think these guys can legitimately contribute to teams if they get their shot and eventually start. And I think Jacob Rodriguez is a day one starter right off the bat. Interior defensive line is kind of weird for me. There's a lot of guys who either fit into one category or the other. It's not like there's not one guy with a one size fit all kind of play style. And that's kind of why I'm leaning towards Grayson Halton. I kind of like an athletic speed rusher, and that's exactly what he is at 6'2", 292. May not be the best run defender in this draft class, but that's not what you're drafting him to be, right? You're drafting him to be an athletic speed rusher that can come in on third down and designated pass rush downs, to be part of Green, the money squad for third down for Green, um, to be a part of the Green downs, which are third downs, second and long, potential pass plays. And I think he can easily slide in playing next to a dominant edge and maybe a somewhat dominant interior pass rusher, and slide in and be completely fine, and a beast on the inside in pass rush situations. And who knows, maybe he can develop the run defense. Edge defenders. This is a weird class because we've talked. A lot of people say the more they watch this edge class, the less they like it. And there's one guy who just every time I watch, I do not change my opinion, and that's Ruben Bain. Like, he is on PFF the top ranked edge, and people say, "Oh, well, he's got short arms, maybe moves inside." I think he's going to be built different and just basically be James Harrison 2.0. Like, he's got that kind of crazy, insane bolt screw loose in his mind, and Ruben Bain just there was a picture of his notebook prior to one of his games, and it literally looks like chicken scratch psychopath killed the quarterback, whatever. That's the kind of stuff that James Harrison reminds me of, and they're very similar frames. And the only difference between them is we know Ruben Bain's arm length. We never knew James Harrison's arm length at a combine. And the combine has been shown that they've been measuring arm lengths extremely short. So I am not gonna count out that Ruben Bain's. I'm not gonna count out that Ruben Bain's arm length was shorter at the combine than they actually are. As for kickers, yeah. And for punters, yeah. Let's see. Draft the ones from Australia. Yeah. If you made it to the end of this video, I really appreciate you for tuning into this video. Um, this is something that I've always wanted to do. I made YouTube videos when I was younger, and so I really appreciate people watching and enjoying. If they do enjoy, drop a like, subscribe down below. I really appreciate it. Um, yeah, thanks for tuning in. But that's just the opinion of a ball knower. See you later.